we do have a quorum, so I think we'll get started. Welcome to our city council meeting this evening. I almost said this morning. That's not right. We are missing and excuse Joe Bocut, who is out of town today and for a few days, and Councilman Hughes will be here. But we're going to proceed and get going with a few preliminary things. So if we could, first of all, we have Reverend Jimmy Keston, who is here to offer an invocation, following which I've asked Council Member Betty Ariel if she would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Jimmy.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. It's a joy and a privilege to be before you again, and it's exciting things going on in St. George, and thank you to the city for their support in the Give Your Land a Hand project that we've been working on, and cleaned up the Bloomington neighborhood recently. That was great fun.
Yep, just off Navajo there.
Yep.
It was fantastic, lots of
trailhead.
people.
And so we're excited about that and the public lands, and it's just a joy to be here today.
Thank you.
Let's pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this glorious place you've given us to call home. We thank you for all those who make their home here in St. George and southern Utah. We thank you for those who have dedicated their lives to making this a better place for us to raise our families and live. We thank you for all of our city employees in every department, and for all of the department heads. We thank you for our city council and our mayor and all those who make this city run so well. We thank you again, Lord, for the place that you've given us to call home. Bless the work of the council today and the decisions they have to make. Grant them wisdom beyond their capabilities to guide us forward, and continue to make their efforts on behalf of St. George a blessing to all of the community. We thank you for this, and I pray in the name of Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Jimmy.
Audience, I've been trying to live more purposely every day to make my life conscious. And so one of the areas that I've been working on is our Pledge of Allegiance. And when I say it, I want to mean it, and I want the phrases to make sense to me. So if you would tonight, just to indulge me, when we get to the part that says one nation under God, instead of pausing there, we just say one nation under God. Just try it. Okay.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well done, everyone. Thank you, Betty. I asked Betty to share that with us because she's suggested that to some of us before. Okay, so let's see, a couple things. First of all, I want to mention this is we got a couple of designations, I guess you'd say, this week. First of all, because this is easy and fairly quick, but it's been Bike Week in Bike to Work Week in St. George this week, and so in honor of that, we have some little water bottles for any of you that would like one. They're on the table back there. Please take one. Tomorrow is our last day of Bike to Work Week, and Southern Utah Bicycle Alliance and the Southwest Utah Public Health Department is sponsoring what they're calling a pit stop from 7 to 9 a.m. right down here on the corner of Main Street and the Boulevard at the parking lot right adjacent to Bear Paw. So 7 to 9 a.m., a little pit stop with bagels and juice and coffee and so forth. So anyone who happens to be riding to work tomorrow morning on their bike, stop by and enjoy a little bit of conversation and some breakfast. So there is that, and again, we want to thank everyone who's been involved with sponsoring our Bike Month in May, just to help with awareness and especially of our trails. which, have been, Gary, how long? How many years? I mean, it's got to be 25, 30 years in the making.
Around 1990, I think it started.
Okay.
So however long that is.
So, yeah, that's 27 years-ish. That's really, we are still widely known for that, and we still have more to do. In fact, we've got a project here that's starting up soon to expand a linkage over on the west side of town. So anyway, we appreciate everything that everyone's been doing along those lines. Second thing, very importantly, Michelle, will you tell us a little bit about what you have in terms of this week?
What I have.
Well, we all have,
What
but
we all have.
yeah.
So we had the opportunity Tuesday night to attend the Police Awards banquet. This is National Police Week, for those that don't know. And in 1962, President Kennedy proclaimed May 15th as National Peace Officers Memorial Day. And so the calendar week of May 15th falls as National Police Week. And I think that to not recognize our police department, St. George Police Department, would be, we would be amiss if we didn't do that tonight. But one statistic that Deputy Chief Farnsworth mentioned at the banquet the other night is, in 2016, 135 police officers were killed in the line of duty, and that's a 10% increase from last year, which is a sobering statistic. But I think I can speak for all of us when we say we're grateful to rub shoulders with our Chief Marlon Stratton, Deputy Chief Farnsworth, Captain Giles, Captain Whitehead, Captain McCracken, and Captain Staley, and for their leadership. Some of you may or may not know that my son is also on the St. George Police Department. So as a mother, I'm grateful for their guidance and their training and their protection. And what is ironic is yesterday I received an email, and I asked the mayor if I could read this. And I've changed the name so that to protect this person, but here's the email. John has been living with us. He is my son, and yet a complete stranger to me. He has been in prison and jail for the majority of his life since he was 16. He is in a gang, in and out of prison, is covered in tattoos, most being gang-related. He is very confused and conflicted. Prior to him coming to live with us, against our better judgment, we allowed it so he could get off drugs and figure out what he wants his life to become. We had suspicions about the gang affiliation, but he denied it. So to come to my point, he had been clean for several weeks and then overdosed. And these are members of our community. A police officer was the first to respond and administered Narcan. It ended up taking 3 rounds of Narcan to bring him back. It is sad that he hates police, and ironic that it was an officer that saved his life. I guess the point of this is that even though not everyone recognizes and appreciates the actions and sacrifices of police, I appreciate them. I am grateful for men like your son that could have chosen safer careers, better paying careers, more love and respect given to a crossing guard than to a typical policeman, and yet they still choose to do the hard job because it is right. So thank you for raising this kind of man. I hope my son lives long enough to work through his problems, and that someday he will be grateful for police officers as well. And I think that sums up our appreciation to our police department. And Rich, if you could please pass that on, and I'll forward this email to you. But thank you for all you do and keeping our community safe, that people want to live here.
Thank you, Michelle. And it's nice to have the Deputy Chief here. Appreciate that. It was a lovely evening. Let's see, what was that? Tuesday night, and lots of very well-deserving awards, I thought, given out, and I really look forward to that every year. It's neat to hear some of the stories as we get to some of the ones at the end, the employees of the year and so forth. So,
Except, Deputy Chief, just so you know, just to make a little lighter moment, when they were giving out the Marksman's Award, is that what it's called?
Sharpshooters. I don't know.
Guys that can shoot well. he leaned over to me and said, "Why aren't they protecting us as city council?"
I told DC that. And yeah,
Exactly.
very good. Okay, well, on a public safety theme, to continue with that, we have Chief Robert Stoker with us. Would you come forward? I believe we've got the Utah Fire and Rescue Academy that are here to present an award to our fire department, if I understand it correctly. Is that right, Chief?
Yes, I'll turn the time over to both representatives, have them introduce themselves, and
Perfect.
have them tell where they were firefighters before they started working for the academy. Both of them are retired from the fire service and work for the academy now and do a great job for us. So
Wonderful.
I'll turn the time over to them.
Mr. Mayor and the council, it's nice to be here. Thank you very much for allowing us some time to recognize St. George Fire Department. This is Brad Wardle. He is the Assistant Director of Training at the Utah Fire and Rescue Academy, my supervisor, so we're kind of going to tag team this whole thing.
Very good.
But I wanted to, we wanted to recognize not only St. George Fire, even though this is St. George Fire Department, for everything that they've done for us over the last few years, but also St. George City. And I'm going to get just a little bit into that, but every year we have, better get my speech out here. So every year in the third week of January, we come down to your fair city and we converge and bring about 900 students down here. And we have over 70 classes, and we use your city. We're at fire stations. We're at Washington City. We use some of the facilities here, and it is a great training opportunity for all of the firefighters in Utah. And I don't know if you understand just how much that means to most of these departments. Some of it's the only training that they get. We charge $40 a person to come to this training, and we bring subject matter experts in from all over the country. And we teach from boot firefighter how to tie knots to chief officer classes on how to run a fire department. So we run the gambit, and like I say, we take over your city, and I hope we're not too much trouble, but it's one of the greatest training opportunities for the entire state. And we couldn't pull that off without St. George Fire. We use your fire stations. They help us get equipment. And a special thanks to Ken Gard. He's kind of the point of contact, and he helps us out so much. It's really hollow to just say, here's the plaque, thank you very much. But that's about as good as we can do at this time. So anyway, I just really wanted to kind of tell you a couple other things, allowing us to use your parking structure, those kinds of things. The training opportunity on a structure like that is something that you cannot replicate. If I can make an analogy, if you go to the zoo and you watch the seals or the polar bears or whatever swim around in their tank from on top, you can tell there's something in there, but you can't tell much detail. But if you can get down at that window and look inside the tank and see what they do and see the detail, that's what we can do when you let us use those things like the parking structure. We can actually teach someone how to do a high angle pickoff or how to do some high angle technical rope techniques and actually show them. They can reach out and touch them in that situation rather than trying to look at it from the top or explain what they're doing from the bottom. So everything that you do here for us is just does so much good for the entire state. So with that being said, I really hope that we continue this relationship. And again, I want to present this plaque to St. George Fire and just say thank you so much for everything that you do. And I hope we continue to enhance this relationship. So thank you very much.
Well, that would be our plan, wouldn't it, Council? Yeah, and Chief, your response, we'd love to hear from you, but thank you very much. But that is kind of what we're about. We do try to be all about training, in every aspect, and certainly most especially public safety. So, Chief, well, thank you.
They didn't do a very good job of tooting their own horn, because it's really a fantastic school they put on. Years ago, we used to have a summer fire school up in Provo. Back when that was with Utah Technical College years ago, there was a few of us that started going up to that. They offered just 3 or 4 classes. It was a great training opportunity, and that grew over time. And it really was a cost to departments like ours to go up there. We had to pay for travel, lodging, food, plus the tuition. What they found, how long we've been doing it down here now? Long time. I was going to say, it's been about 20 years. They approached us and said, hey, we're thinking about changing this and doing, rather than a summer fire school in Provo, doing a winter fire school in January in St. George, which we fully supported. It's been a great opportunity for our department and local departments to take advantage of the local training. We don't have the travel costs and those types of things. But it's also was tough in the summer, because a lot of your departments in in Utah have they're out working cattle or farms or whatever they're doing in the volunteer areas. It's hard for them to get away during the summer to do that. Where the winter fire school is taken off, we used some of our stations, and then the Holiday Inn that was on Bluff, the old Holiday Inn, and that was for a few years. Now they're down to a couple of our stations. They're down at the Dixie Center. They're up at Dixie ATC, the Marriott. I mean, it's just amazing how many classes they're offering it now. Again, about 900 students. They had students from Alaska last year that came down to this school. So it's, they just do a fantastic job. They organize it just like an incident that we respond to. They'll have somebody in charge, and then their chain of commands, just like an ICS structure. And it really is fantastic. They hold it in conjunction. Our state chiefs meetings are the first part of the week, and so we're able to take advantage of that, plus the training they offer, and then work right into fire school. But again, it's a great networking for all the departments around the state, like I say, and surrounding states. And like I said, this year we actually talked to some of the people that came down from Alaska, and they were going to, was it Texas? Down to Texas A&M they have a school similar to Utah Valley does at the Fire Academy. But they heard how great this one was, and they ended up coming down here and loved it. So they'll be back next year. This year we had a little bit of rain and weather, but generally it's great weather for them. And like I said, we do everything from classroom to hands-on to live fire up at Dixie ATC now. And so it really is. I want to commend the Fire Academy for the job they do in training the departments across the state. Most of it's at no cost to the departments, or like this, $40 is nothing for tuition, just trying to cover their costs. So we appreciate them. They have a great economic boom to our city during that week, bringing people in, and motels and everything else. So that it's really benefited us, and we tried to bend over backwards to help them with whatever they need as far as equipment and things. So I just want to tell them thanks, because it's been a great opportunity for the local departments here in Washington County.
Thank you, Chief. Well said. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being here. We appreciate that, and again, you have our support in the future.
Thank you very much.
You bet. Let's see, anything else? I didn't have anything else pre-written agenda. Christina, are you aware of anything else? Gary? Okay, then let's go to the formal agenda. Gary, if you want to lead us through that.
Okay, item 1A is the agreement with Tom Vesely for a hangar. This is an assignment of a hangar that currently is owned by Paul Proctor. It's on lot 212. Just a regular standard lease. He's terminating his lease, and this will be a new lease with the new owner. So we don't see any problems with that.
Any questions, council? These are standard leases.
You ready for a motion?
Yes.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the hangar lease agreement with Tom Fesley for hangar number 212.
Second.
Motion by Ed with a second by Jimmy. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
And we can probably then take care of the bid awards. We have a couple of contracts, one with Bowen Collins for the construction management services for the Commerce Drive project. So we're getting close to bidding that. We'd like to recommend that we use Bowen Collins, who designed the structure as well as the roadway, to be the construction manager on that project.
We've always found them to do a really good job, so I agree. Any questions on that professional services agreement, council? If not, ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion to award a contract to Bowen Collins and Associate for their professional service agreement in the amount of, is it still $51,390?
Second.
Motion by Michelle with a second by Betty. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next award recommendation is for a contract with Sunrise Engineering for $119,200. That's for the construction management responsibilities for the Bloomington Drive resurfacing project, excuse me.
This is just to clarify, and for those out in TV or internet land, we will soon be awarding a bid, we hope, to redo the entire Stephen, Bloomington Drive. You'd be interested in that. We will do, it'll take us some time, but we will do that whole loop. And so this is the construction management portion of that. So they manage it and make sure it's being done according to design and spec. Any questions?
We're also, Mayor, doing the water line replacement in that roadway
Right.
as well. So
Remember how we talked about that?
Yep.
Would it, if it made sense while we're at it, we sure don't want to be cutting up soon if we a brand new road if we don't have to. So we will be replacing the water line throughout that drive.
Mayor, I'd be happy to move that we award a contract to Sunrise Engineering in the amount of $119,200.
Second.
Motion by Betty with a second by Ed. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
the last bid award would be to, actually it's extending a lease. You know, as you're aware, the city operates the 4 golf courses, and we lease our carts, 262 golf carts from Club Car. We have a current contract, and in that current agreement, it does not, it's our responsibility after 3 years to replace batteries should they be necessary to be replaced at very significant dollars. And this lease amendment would allow us to continue with our existing lease for another 5 years from this point. It's start a brand new one from now, which would save us from having to do any changing out of any of the batteries and that cost associated with that. And so it should save us somewhere around $90,000 in our estimates if we want to go ahead with this new lease, which is the same terms as the old lease. And that's our recommendation.
Let me remind you that on this one, there is a resolution that needs to be approved as well.
I'm sorry, that was put on there.
It's in the
wrong.
addendum.
So this will be for an additional,
It'll be for a 5-year period from here forward, not an additional, but just starting now for 5 more years.
So
Yeah.
can that motion be made?
Resolution.
Resolution 1, okay. Ed,
Yep.
did you have a question?
No.
Okay. A motion to approve a resolution approving an equipment lease purchase agreement for golf carts in the amount of $213,514.28.
Second.
Motion by Michelle with a second by Ed. Any discussion on this motion?
that's per year, correct? Or is that
That's-
total?
That is per year.
Okay, sorry.
No, good question. This is a resolution requiring a roll call vote. So all in favor, starting with Ed, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously.
For those that may not understand the golf business a little bit, it seems like a lot of money to pay for those carts, but we generate a lot more revenue from renting those carts out than it costs us. It's a profit center for the golf courses, basically. So
Yeah, and it was duly noted that the golf courses are doing well this year. Things
Yeah.
are looking very,
doing
very
much
well.
better. All right, Mayor, it's past 5:30. I don't know if you would like to go back to public hearings that are scheduled for 5:30, or whatever your pleasure is.
Do we have any sensitivities on staff reports, or should that you're aware of, Gary, time-wise?
No.
Then, yeah, let's go ahead to public hearings. You're going to explain this really well for us, John, right?
I am.
Okay.
So the first public hearing is 3A, a public hearing to consider changing the zone from A1 to RE20 on 20.41 acres generally located at 3800 South Bentley. Development Solutions is the applicant. So this is the location of the proposed zone change, Bentley Road, 3770. This is the general plan. The general plan is low-density residential, which supports anything from 1 or 0 to 4 units an acre. Current zoning on the property is A1 for most of the property. There is some open space located just to the west. So this is what the applicants originally proposed. This is what the Planning Commission reviewed and heard public comment on, and that was for the 20.41 acres to be changed to RE20, which is 20,000 square foot lot minimum. The Planning Commission reviewed it, heard public comments, and the Planning Commission recommended that the property that was A1 remain A1, and the portions that were open space be changed to A1. And so that was their recommendation, was denial for what the applicant has proposed. Due to the recommendation of the Planning Commission, the applicant modified their request. This is their up-to-date request that they submitted to the city and what they're proposing today to the City Council. And so what they're proposing is 18.97 acres remain or change to A1, and 1.44 acres be rezoned to RE20. And so the majority of the property would be remain the A1, and this portion would be RE20. According to the applicant, they intend to plat these and include some of the open space area that's located along the wash. And so even though the zoning would be RE20, the actual lot size would be greater than 1 acre lots. And so it'd be consistent with the area and also with
you mean half acre lots where it's RE20?
So what they're proposing would be one half acre, but the lots themselves would extend into the open space.
Oh,
Is that in the floodplain?
It is in the
So that's
floodplain.
why they're unbuildable.
It's similar to what we've seen in Bloomington, where the property owners own a portion of the open space behind their property or the floodplain. And so that's what the applicant is proposing.
I had a lot similar to that on the Jordan River when I lived in Salt Lake. Yeah.
Yeah. And so out in the project, there'll actually be larger lots.
So when you say they're not buildable, they could still use it, just not build on it.
Yeah, they could put horses on it, and they can utilize it as you could open space.
Build a fence.
I'm not sure. I know in the open space they can build a fence. It gets a little sensitive when you're in the floodplain.
It might be like ranch fencing or something.
Yeah.
They'd kind of have to work with the city. At least that's what it was in my case.
Right.
Well, and just to clarify for the zoning side of it, you cannot have residential in an open space area. We don't allow the residential in it. It's not a permitted use. And so you can't have a residential lot, which they're proposing to put residential lots, even though it's only half the lot.
Right.
It still is not permitted under our zoning for you to do it that way. So
That's why it has to be this way.
no, I mean, they can't put a lot that crosses over into open space. It all needs to be in the residential space for it to be allowed on that. What you have in Bloomington is different because that is not part of the subdivision. It is not part of that approved subdivision. They've gone and done quitclaim deeds and other things or bought property behind it, but it wasn't approved as part of your plat of your subdivision for it to be residential, which is what you're doing when you approve a plat, even though it's crossing over into another zone that doesn't allow for that type of zoning or that type of use, I should say. So I'm not sure how they would make that work to put it in, to make it legal to do it that way. If it's all A1, then you don't have that problem. If it's all RE20, you don't have that problem. But to have part of it be open space, then you now have a problem.
Okay, so that just turned us all on our heels.
That may be something that during the subdivision process, we see how to make that work.
And the other thing to note is, although they may be committing to making them larger, again, when you pass a zoning change, they are not locked into that. They could sell the property tomorrow and somebody else could build on it and put the smaller lots in that are allowed by that zoning. So just for you to consider.
However, in this particular case, they couldn't go smaller than 20,000 per acre, right? And they cannot plat inside in the open space area. So effectively, the open space will be open space because they can't plat a residential in there unless they change the floodplain map or whatever else, which is not going to happen in this particular location. So to me, it's a technicality that we need to work with. Their request is for 90% of the property to be A1, and the one small, what is it, 2 acres? It's 1.4 acres is all you're talking about, and that's adjacent to the larger lots. And so it seems to me we ought to be able to work that out for those 3 lots that they'll be platting in order to make sure that they have at least an acre, or they have I guess they could enter into an agreement with the owner of the open space and let them use it, but they just couldn't build a house on it.
Yeah.
You beat me to the math. It was 3 lots, basically.
Yeah.
I thought it was 1.4 acres, so you've got 3 into that. It'd be about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You went to
3
Dixie
lots.
High, I know.
Absolutely.
So did I.
Yeah, me too.
3.
And DSU.
So, John, this actually expands the open space area and keeps it all one big piece. Plus, also the modification allows for this adjustment so they can still build on that one side. So it's a kind of a win for the applicants, plus those residents who objected and had concerns in that. They're actually getting a bigger open space area.
Right now, we're looking at the zoning, and so when we do come forward and they do subdivide that, we'll know more on how that's going to be subdivided and the open space is subdivided. But right now, the open space is larger.
So before you leave that, just one more time, point me to which piece is which so we have a clear understanding.
So this area that I'm outlining now
All of that
is the A1.
A1.
And so
Okay.
this lighter green is the RE20. And then this area here is the open space,
Going down into the wash.
going down into the wash.
And what was the part that was open space that now is going to be A1?
It's kind of a square like this.
So it's really less open space on the whole.
The rest was
You're
already
right.
A1.
As a whole, it is.
I just don't want to be
So,
misleading,
yeah,
but
you're
yeah.
right.
The rest was already A1 or is already A1.
Right.
Yeah, the remaining portion in this location is already A1. So here's the zoning. Here's the
There
open
you go.
space. This darker green here is the A1.
Gotcha. Where is our master plan road along there? Just out of curiosity, while we're on the subject, can you show me that?
I'll bet he will.
And so the master plan road, and I can load up what kind of the conceptual design is, but it follows the wash. Follows the wash in this location and then cuts through here.
So it would be a new road.
It would be a new
It doesn't
road.
exist currently.
And where will that terminate?
At Commerce.
Yeah.
Right at Commerce.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
On the south.
Yeah. So what about north? Where are we
On
coming
the
off?
north
Horseman?
is Horseman's.
Horseman's Park Road, or whatever it's called, right through Bryce Christensen's.
Yep.
Not right through Horseman's Park, please.
No,
No.
through Bryce Christensen's
Yeah.
property,
Okay.
which is to the west of Horseman's Park.
Right.
So it'll-
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. So it'll follow real close to what the floodplain is.
I think that's important.
So that'll be one of the main arteries into there then at some
That's
point
right.
in the
It
future.
will.
And that'll kind of be the boundary from those properties in the wash.
Yeah, it will. There's a few lots that may be on the other side, but not very many lots.
Okay.
Jimmy, I think that answers some of the questions we've had, you know, at least, I don't know when this happens, but when that road does happen, I think it helps some of those property owners that currently are, what street is that, just off of Horseman, that's currently got some challenges with cars going through there, and
Well,
Horseman is
the actual park
yeah,
where the
is
agriculture
Horseman Park.
Yeah,
That's
where those
pretty
lots
far
are.
out.
All that traffic right now in some of those subdivisions is funneling through a road where you have arenas and feedlots on each side, and it's not working. So we're gonna have to do something else there. So that's why I'm asking about this road, because we don't want to funnel all that traffic down through there. So
This is Bentley here.
on that
Next
side.
door.
And right now, Bentley can't go through any further than where it is because of there's a previous subdivision that's in there, and there's a canal or something like that.
So what is there some buildings just north of the outline? What's that right there?
These are 3 houses, 3 residential houses.
Okay, I got my bearings now.
So this is 3670
Gotcha.
here.
Okay.
So, in the future, when that road does go down through there, and you've got the open space that we're showing in the current plan, and you have to have some kind of, chicken wire fence? I don't know. What are you talking about? But if people have their horses, chickens, whatever, in that open space, is the road going right by there?
No, the lots are over in this area here, and the road will come and be in front of those lots. And so those lots, those 3 lots that are in the open space, this road will go in front of those lots, and the ones with the open space will be facing the wash, and so there won't be a road back
So the
behind
houses
there.
will be kind of toward,
Correct.
okay.
Facing the road, fronting
Facing
on the road.
Yep.
That's pending a subdivision plat, obviously, and figuring that out. But you can't go on the
We're
other
up to
side.
that.
You'll be down the river. So
Right. Any other questions, or John, is there anything else you wanted to say on this?
Nope.
Council? Is there anything the applicant would like to say?
I think John did a good job of explaining kind of how we got here procedurally. I'm happy to answer any questions about that if you have any. The one thing maybe I'd say before letting the neighborhood speak. And,
Hey, just for the record.
oh yeah, I'm sorry, Stacy Young, Development Solutions.
Thanks.
The idea with these lots would actually not to incorporate them into the same lot, but actually create separate open space parcels that would then be sold with the lot. So it wouldn't. That's how we would try to address that concern. Did you have any questions before I?
Nope. Thank you, Stacy. Anything else, Gary? All right, then I'll open the public hearing for any who may have come to express opinions or concerns, questions on this item 3A on our agenda today. And when you come forward, if you just state your name for the record, please.
My name is Brock Riding. I live and have lived down in this area for about 13 years. I own this property right here. And I just want to say thank you to the developer for hearing us out. We showed up in force at the Planning Commission and just made our concerns known, and we appreciate them hearing us out. I am a little concerned. You brought up, Gary, that this zone change doesn't mean that this property will be developed, and so I want to be a little careful as to what gets approved with this RE20. I'm really not opposed to it, but I guess I'm confused why that can't be all of this can't be just Ag 1 and those be sold as lots.
It's open space.
And that open space can't
And
be
it's
changed.
in the floodplain is the main thing.
And
is
I
that
get
right?
that, but that brings up a good point. The floodplain right now is still under study as far as I know. The city's still waiting for a final
I think we pretty well
report back.
know, based on the consultants, that what you're seeing, that line is somewhere very close to that.
Okay, because over on our property, we've been told several stories about it being moved dramatically, and so that I'm just concerned about you guys making a zone
I
change
think your
here.
house is in the floodway.
That's probably the case, but that's what I'm worried about. Is if you guys say, okay, this zone change is done, and then that gets dramatically changed.
The floodplain is not dictated by zone change, and so it's done by the studies that we're doing on Commerce Drive. Bowen Collins has done that. Cameron can show you the latest results if you're interested in where that's at. But certainly we're not going to build that roadway in the floodway, because otherwise we're not going to put those dollars down in. Plus, if it's in a floodway, you can't go in there and do a lot of work in the floodway zone. And so it's fairly close, but this is only a zone change. It's not a plat. And so what I was saying earlier is that when the final subdivision plat comes and is proposed to the council, they'll be able to see how they can deal with those 3 lots. Because the intent is obviously to keep them at least 1 acre, and as Stacy has mentioned, that's how they plan to do it. It's a technicality that they can't make those bigger.
That's perfect. And I just wanted to make sure I was clear in understanding that. So I appreciate you guys and what you do, and I really appreciate the developers and the planning commission hearing us out. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? I do think a lot of the discussions came out of the Planning Commission. I was here for part of that, and I think that was helpful.
My name is Shannon Klomp. I own the field. Oh, I touched it, and I learned that from Planning Commission. I'm not supposed to do that. I own this field right here, as well as living on 3770 South. And just maybe a suggestion to the developer that we've got the white open fencing. Of course, they can do whatever they want, but it's just a really nice look that we have with the white open fencing that really promotes the agricultural look. And so I'm just putting it out there that would be nice to continue that and
That's
kind of
what I was
give it
talking
the same.
about, Michelle. That's the ranch
Okay.
fencing.
Okay.
No.
Is that what? Okay.
Yep.
So that was my suggestion. Thank
Okay.
you.
At this point, it wouldn't be on, part of the discussion, but we can always bring that up later. So thank you. Thanks, Shannon. Any others? Then I'll close the public hearing and come back to you, council, for any discussion and for your action.
I want to commend Stacy too, and for listening to these neighbors, and those 3 houses right there, and the agriculture. It's important to them, and you listened, and to keep it agriculture. I appreciate it.
I think I saw him writing down white fencing too.
I know, I did too. He was taking notes.
I will tell you, I mean, we have a little issue with that little piece and what could happen, but I'm very confident that Quality will we've had a long working relationship with them. We'll do what they're saying they're going to do here as far as the residents are concerned on those that 1.4 acres. They have sat here and heard me say time and time again they have to do bigger lots down there. Stacy's tired of hearing of it. You guys are tired of hearing me saying it. And I think this is a good thing, and that those lots will work out good. And if you call them or you talk to Stacy and make those recommendations, you'd be surprised. I think they'll listen. So to the extent they can. So I'm glad this is going this direction. So
Ed?
Can you sum it up for me a little bit, Mayor, that the citizens who live out there who showed up at the Planning Commission objected to this? A lot of the letters we received objected to this. Could you say that from what's represented here today, they don't seem to object to this, so they're content and happy? They
objected to the original.
Right. So they're happy.
The original application was for some slightly smaller RE lots,
right,
that created kind of a buffer, and they really preferred to stick with the A1.
So
is that fair, Shannon? Yeah.
So this modification is more in keeping with what those people.
I think so. I don't want to put words in their mouths.
Most of our neighbors, again, it's Shannon Klomp, are, and A1, they of course have their right because it is currently zoned A1. I am particularly sad though to see those fields go, because it does represent a lifestyle gone, and they still will be essentially residential lots. So I personally would love to, and they own it, but if somehow it didn't go through, and I could just see it being a wetland preserve or just kind of a different kind of park by the city. And I would love to see, regardless of what happens, a trail that follows this wash that could connect in possibly to all the other wonderful trails that we have around. I think that that would be really utilized in our area. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Some good ideas that we've heard before as well, but and some of the same things Jimmy's talked about before. So that's it, Ed. Any other questions? Seeing none, I'm ready for a motion if you are.
I'll go ahead, Mayor, and make a motion that we approve the zone change from open space to A1 agriculture and the small portion for RE20.
Second.
We have a motion by Jimmy and a second by Betty. And again, as has been presented to us, I think Jimmy stated it well. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, starting with Michelle this time, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Okay, Mayor and Council, next item on the agenda is a public hearing to consider amending the planned development commercial zone on 2.65 acres located at 166 West, 1700 South to develop a car wash. Mr. Stephen Wade is the applicant. And on the screen, just again reiterates, this is a zone change amendment to an existing PD commercial zone. The existing dealer collision building on the property I'll be showing is to be demolished, and a new tunnel car wash and detail area will be constructed for both the general public and for existing nearby dealerships. So on the aerial, this shows the site. Again, Black Ridge Drive here, 1700 South. This is the former dealer collision. The zoning is PDC, Plan Development, Commercial. And again, this building here will be demolished, but this shows, outlined in red, the property that a new project will be built upon. This shows the building that's going to be removed, just to familiarize you with the area there. And then this is a little bit, you can see that from Black Ridge Drive, the topography, it's quite a bit lower than the road. This is up on the road itself. You can just see to the right, 1700 South, and then a view down 1700 South. So this is a site plan. The green shows proposed landscaping to be redone along Black Ridge Drive. The orange color shows the car wash and the detail center. And then this is all new parking that's created. A little closer view of the landscaping. Of course, that will be looked at in detail for species and quantities during the staff site plan review process, but this gives you a feel for it. On the table in front of you are these elevations. It's in your packet and on a screen. This shows the architecture, the type of treatment, the relief that it has. It's an interesting structure. You can see the colors that are proposed. I could read them, but they are in your packet. I've listed them in detail of what they would like to use for the building. And then a little closer here, I'll just point out that you can see here's the car wash entry as you go through, and then these are bays, 4 of them for detailing. This does show the color material board that's on the table in front of you for the public, and then all of the items are listed here. So that pretty much concludes staff's comments. I'd like to just read on page 2 of the report comments from the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission recommends approval to the City Council of the PDC zone change amendment for Stephen Wade Car Wash with the following recommended conditions. Number 1, the acreage. The zone change amendment on this 2.65 is recommended for approval. Access, approval of the concept of vehicular ingress and egress, the right-ins, right-outs, as presented is recommended. The car wash itself, the materials, the elevations, the layout, the orientation, the renderings as presented, Planning Commission does recommend approval. And then, which should be 4 and 5 there as notes, show 7 and 8. Those are staff level. We'll look at the site plan review and then we'll make sure that they give us a photometric plan for lighting. And that concludes staff's comments.
Any questions for Ray, council?
Ray, just in case I didn't pick it up or the people at home, as far as the entry and the exit, you got all this nice greenery and those trees planted. Where are they going to drive onto to get into the car wash from there?
Well, here's Black Ridge Drive.
Where do they enter?
They'll be, because of the height difference, this is so much lower down, they'll be coming down what's vacated right away, 1700 South. They'll be coming down here, driving through, and then driving through, you have 1 or 2, 3, for lack of a better word, bays as they turn, come in through the car wash.
And exit the same way.
I believe they would exit the same way here. I mean, they're going to have to get out of the property. Although a lot of these, we've looked at this, and I didn't really talk about it too much. They have enough parking. The majority of the parking here is above and beyond what's required for the car wash, but it's for the property owner to use for storing vehicles for the other dealerships here. So really the activity, what I'm trying to say, is going to be focused within this area here.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions for Ray? Okay. Would the applicant want to come forward? Anything you want to say, Stephen, or any questions for the applicant? It's pretty clear.
You got to keep those cars clean if you're going to sell them.
We will probably wash 500 ourselves a day.
And it'll be open to the public as well. Yeah.
So is it gonna be called Stephen Wade Car Wash?
That's what it says on the side.
Yeah, that's what I saw. Hey, if I had a car wash, I'd put it on there. I mean, yeah. What? No, I'm saying put Stephen Wade on it. Everything else with that name on there does well. Why not, right? Oh,
There you go. Yeah.
you can have one of those signs that says "No mud," right?
Are you ready, Mayor?
I need to do public hearing first. So I will open the public hearing at this time for anyone that might have come to express comments on this item 3B on our agenda. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and come back to you, council, now, Ed, if you care to make a motion.
I'd make a motion that we approve the planned development commercial zone on 2.65 acres located at 166 West, 1700 South to develop a car wash.
Second.
Okay, the motion by Ed and second by Betty to approve amending the planned development commercial zone on the property described with the conditions of Planning Commission, I assume. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Starting with Ed this time, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Thanks, Stephen. Appreciate it. It'll be nice. Yep.
Okay, item 3C is a request to consider approval of an amended residential subdivision final plat as well as an easement vacation for Stonecliff Phase 10 amended. Representative is Pope Engineering. Property is located at 1901 East J Drive in the Stonecliff development. Zone is PDR. And basically, the amendment and public easement vacation is between these two lots. This property line here is getting adjusted to match what was actually constructed, and then the utility easements will be altered to match the new property line. Basically, this one built over that property line, so they just are adjusting those lines.
Any questions on this one, council? Doing some required housekeeping. Okay, then I will open the public hearing for anyone who might have come to express input on this item 3C on our agenda. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and come back to you, council. Any discussion or ready for a motion?
Mayor, I will be happy to move to approve an amended subdivision plat for Stonecliff Phase 10 by adjusting the lot line between lots 1030 and 1031 to match the location of the block wall that was built between the two lots.
Second.
Good motion by Betty and a second by Michelle. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, starting with Michelle this time, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously.
I believe then we'll go to staff reports. Report from the Planning Commission meeting that was held last week.
First item on the Planning Commission report are 5 items to be advertised for the City Council meeting of June 1st, public hearings. Item A, consider a zone change from C3 to PDSH, which stands for Plan Development Student Housing, on approximately 4.4 acres. This is generally located northeast of the intersection of 600 East and Tabernacle. The project is tentatively called 605 Place Student Housing. Item B, consider a proposed amendment to Title 10, Chapter 19, Off-Street Parking, Section 1019.1, Off-Street Parking Required, and Section 5, Non-Residential Area Requirements, to add regulations for specific areas zoned C4 between 400 West to 300 East. Item C, consider a proposed amendment to Title 10, Chapter 11, Manufacturing Zones, to create a new zoning district in the manufacturing chapter to be called MC, Manufacturing and Commercial. Item D, consider revision to the general plan to create a new zoning district for the industrial land uses. The new zone district would be MC. And item E, consider a general plan amendment to the land use map and associated text for the South Block sub-area plan and Atkinville interchange plan, extending from the Fort Pierce Industrial Park on the north to the Utah-Arizona state line on the south, and also from I-15 freeway on the west to the Fort Pierce on the east. The amendment contains approximately 6,000 acres. Those are the 5 items to be advertised for June 1st.
Are you ready for a motion?
Yes, ready for a motion to set these public hearings.
I will make a motion that we advertise the public hearings to be held on June 1st, 2017.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, second by Ed, to set these public hearings for June 1st, 2017. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Bunch of public hearings. Yeah, it's true.
Okay. Item 2A from the Planning Commission report is a request to consider approval of a 26-unit residential subdivision final plat called Bloomington Vacation Villas Phase 1. Representative is Rosenberg Associates. Property is located approximately 3120 South Bloomington Drive, zone is PDR. All aspects of this final plat were reviewed by staff, and it meets the conditions of the preliminary plat approval. So this is it right here. Here's Bloomington Drive right there. And then there's just the close-up of it right here. These also were approved for short-term rentals.
So besides short-term rentals, is dancing allowed there?
Only
I'm
in front.
teasing. I couldn't resist.
I was going to say something else, but I'm going to leave it.
Are there any recreational amenities that go with that?
The recreational amenities with this one are the clubhouse pool and all those facilities. So they'll be part of that, the club there.
And they'll be in place before the rentals are able to be
Right.
rented.
In fact, I think they've either started on the construction of the pool or are close to finishing the remodel of the pool and so forth. So they'll just need to be incorporated in that whole
You've got the road closed right now,
Right.
doing the tunnel and all the different water and stuff. But yeah, they've already started on the expansion of the pool and everything.
Yeah.
In fact, I think we have an invitation to go there on June 1st, earlier in the day, for kind of an open house of the country club. And I would assume the pool, I can't tell these days, but it's probably close to being finished since the summer's here, or almost here. So
I would think so.
And then new roads down there, that's going to be quite the place.
yeah, going to be busy for the next year.
That's June 1st, did you say?
Yeah, June 1st at, I believe at 11 a.m. If you don't have an invitation, I'll forward one to you, but I think you might have one in your box.
I'll go ahead, Mayor, if you're ready to make a motion.
Yep.
To approve the final subdivision plat for Bloomington Vacation Villas Phase 1.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy with a second by Ed. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, item 2B is a request to consider approval of a 22-unit residential subdivision final plat called Bloomington Vacation Villas Phase 2. Representative is Rosenberg Associates. Property is located north of Phase 1 at approximately 3080 South Bloomington Drive, zone as PDR. All aspects of this final plat, again, were reviewed by staff and it meets the conditions of the preliminary plat. So this one's just obviously north of Phase 1. Phase 1 would obviously have to record prior to Phase 2 as Phase 2 gets their access through Phase 1. So Phase 1 will just need to record before Phase 2.
I'm trying to remember, is it just 2 phases then?
Yeah, so
that's what I was
the
thinking. So
extent
it's about
of it.
44
Yeah.
units total. Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Did you have a comment?
I was just going to say any questions, so you're good.
Motion to approve the final subdivision plat for the Bloomington Vacation Villas Phase 2.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, second by Ed. Any discussion on this item, motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Did you reserve yours yet? I'm going to beat you to it.
I'm tempted. Yeah. Yeah. Could be a good place for me during retirement, right?
Yeah.
Okay, item 2C is a request to consider approval of a 17-lot residential subdivision final plat called the Cove at Little Valley Phase 2. Representative is R&B Surveying. Property is located south of Horseman Park Drive and west of Little Valley Road. Zone is R112 and RE20. All aspects of this final plat were reviewed by staff and it meets the conditions of the preliminary plat. So here's Horseman Park right here. Here's Little Valley Road right here. There is a drainage. This is the low spot in Little Valley Road right there. So they'll be taking drainage from Little Valley through their subdivision and then on to Horseman. So that's a 25-foot easement there for the storm drain. This also is an easement as there's an existing power pole that sits right there, and the only access to it, they can't get through this lot, so they've worked out a deal where they will provide access through this lot to get access to that pole and then back out. And then that's that overhead transmission line, and so it'll restrict the heights of some of these, the houses on some of these relative to those power lines.
So how far is the school from there?
The one's right there, and then the elementary's right here, and I think it's the intermediate's right there.
And they'll have roads and sidewalks to walk on to get to school?
Yep, right along Horseman Park Road, yep.
The previous one.
Are you ready?
Any questions? Yeah, ready for a motion if you are.
I would approve the final plat for a 17-lot residential final subdivision plat for the Cove at Little Valley Phase 2.
Second.
Motion by Betty, second by Michelle. Any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
Okay, item 2D from the Planning Commission report is request to consider approval of a one-lot commercial final subdivision plat called Sun River Commons Phase 1. Representative is Rosenberg Associates. Property is located on the north side of Sun River Parkway between Arrowhead Canyon and Pioneer Road, zone as PDC. All aspects of this final plat were reviewed by staff and it meets the conditions of preliminary plat. Sun River Parkway, Arrowhead, Pioneer, and this is the one-lot subdivision where the new hotel is being built.
Questions, council?
Is there any indication of any type of water works, their entertainment facilities? How close is that going to be to that?
We haven't seen
They
anything
didn't
yet.
cover anything on it?
No, just the hotel and some other possible development
So we're
right
just
there.
setting the lines.
What was that, Ed?
I just want to say whether the property lines are drawn just for this hotel.
Yeah, it's just this
Yes.
one-lot subdivision they're creating right now.
Any other questions? Ready for a motion then?
Motion to approve the commercial final subdivision plat for Sun River Commons Phase 1.
Second.
Motion by Michelle with a second by Ed. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, item 2E from the Planning Commission report is a request to consider approval of a 20-unit residential subdivision final plat called the Villas at Sun River, St. George Phase 3. Representative is Rosenberg Associates. Property is located on the east side of Arrowhead Canyon Drive at approximately 4800 South, zone is PDR. All aspects of this final plat, again, were reviewed by staff, and it meets the conditions of the preliminary plat. So this is, let me see if I can go back. This is, again, right here. Here's Arrowhead, Sun River Parkway. It's part of that development where they're doing these short-term rentals. And this is that phase. This would be the amenity area that's being built with Phase 1. And then Phase 3 will just circle around that amenity area.
Very good. This is also, Jimmy, approved for, I can't remember the percentage, 40% or something, short-term rentals-ish.
50.
Yeah,
Something like that. And then 100 units would have to be built before they started doing
correct.
the short-term.
And the
rentals.
amenity has
Right.
to be built, yeah.
Mayor, I move to approve a 20-unit residential final subdivision plat for the villas at Sun River at St. George Phase 3.
Second.
Motion by Betty with the second by Ed. Any discussion?
You know, Mayor, it's encouraging to be able to see that the short-term rentals are being directed and that people moving in or choosing to live nearby are going to know where short-term rentals are located and be clear-minded in making their decisions.
Yeah.
And it satisfies that need and the demand for short-term rentals that the city has been presented with.
Yep, that's the beauty of it, isn't it?
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, item 2F from the Planning Commission report is a request to consider approval of a 17-unit residential subdivision final plat called the Villas at Sun River, St. George Phase 4. Representative is Rosenberg Associates. Again, the property is located on the east side of Arrowhead Canyon Drive at approximately 4850 South, zone is PDR. All aspects of this final plat were reviewed by staff, and it meets the conditions of the preliminary plat. So this is south of the Phase 3 we just looked at. They're just the south end of that amenity area, and this is Phase 4 right here with Arrowhead Canyon right there.
Arrowhead kind of runs some
runs on-
parallel to I-15,
Yeah,
kind of.
correct.
Any questions on this one?
Motion to approve the Villas at Sun River St. George Phase 4 final plat.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Jimmy, second by Michelle. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, item 3A is request to consider amendment of a residential subdivision final plat called Primrose Point Subdivision Phase 3 amended. Representative is Ants Homes. Property is located east of the intersection of Acantilado Drive and Arroyo Drive. Zone is R110. Purpose of this amendment is to amend Note 9, which currently reads lots 1 through 8, 93, 95, and 96 are to be built as walkout, reverse walkout basements only. The note basically would be changed to say lots 1 through 8, 93, 95, and 96 are to be built as walkout, reverse walkout basements only unless otherwise approved by the City of St. George based on a site grading and drainage plan that meets all applicable city standards, including but not limited to grading and setback standards and requirements.
That's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful.
So, Wes, this amendment, as far as the walk-up versus the flat,
Right.
considers the drainage and the walls that are going to be
So
installed?
if they don't
we're
want to
not
build a
gonna have-
walkout or reverse walkout, they'd have to submit a plan that shows how they're going to deal with the elevation change between the lots and the grading and the drainage and so forth to make sure
It'll drain
without
properly.
impacting those other lots.
Great.
Just gives them some flexibility in case there's some that
Yep.
don't need it.
That don't, and others
Right,
do.
don't
Yeah.
want it, right.
Ready for a motion?
I'd move that we approve an amended residential final subdivision plat for Primrose Point Subdivision Phase 3 amended.
Second.
Motion by Betty, second by Ed. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, item 4 from the Planning Commission report is request to consider approval of a 10-lot subdivision or less without a plat. 3-lot subdivision for the city of St. George. Representative is Rosenberg Associates. Property is located at the north end of Dinosaur Crossing Drive, south end of 2450 East Street, northwest of the Virgin River. Zone is R110. I think it is R110. But anyways, this is the creation of 3 lots. So here is the Greyhawk apartment project. This is where the Dinosaur Crossing Road will extend through. Here's 2450 East with that roundabout. We're currently reconstructing, building the road through here and then removing the roundabout and building that. So it'll create this parcel A here, which originally was slated for that transitional housing, parcel B here, and then parcel C, which is most likely be a park.
So where would the affordable transitional housing be? Point that out to us.
This was
That
originally
one.
right there on that parcel A. Yep.
Right, Jimmy? Good. Any questions on this, council? Gary, any comments also?
No, I think that, we have a prospective sale on the one parcel to the north right there. It's like 1.2 acres or something like that. The application is in for and my understanding was there was some favorable response on the affordable housing project from the Olean Walker Fund. That's the word I've heard. I don't know the final verdict there. So we could see some action on the affordable housing project there, and then the possible sale, and then the rest of that's park, be on the southeast side of the new road that we're building there, and it'll be tie in some other property we have there. The skimboard park is right there, the diversion's right there, and it creates a nice opportunity for a park right there.
So this fits in with the city's goal for affordable housing and a mixture, and it's blending in as
Yes.
designed.
Yep.
Yeah, and I again hope the Bach Homes project goes forward, and, because that's again that's part of affordable housing too.
Right.
It's a little different than what's here, but I think it will all work together nicely.
Right.
And with the commercial right there, the bike path, the river, as Gary said, the skimboard park just very close by. And anyway, it's good area. It could really be nice down there when it's all. Will be really nice when it's all finished. Any other questions, comments? Otherwise, ready for a motion.
Mayor, I make the motion that we approve this 3-lot subdivision that presented as articulated by Wes.
Motion by Ed, second by Michelle. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, item 5A from the Planning Commission report is request to approve an amended preliminary plat for a 57-lot residential subdivision. The original was approved for 55 lots. It's Desert Valley at Desert Canyons. Site is located in the Desert Canyons development south of Desert Canyons Parkway and east of Rimrunner Road. Property is 18.76 acres. Density is 3.04 dwelling units an acre. Zone is R110. General plan shows this is residential. The applicant is Development Solutions Group, and the representative is Kurt Gordon and Ken Miller. So if you look right here on your vicinity map, here is Desert Canyons Parkway. Right here's the Southern Parkway right there, and then here's Desert Canyons Parkway. This is located right there, so this would be Desert Canyons Parkway right here. This was amended when this went to Hillside. As you'll recall, they had a number of lots over here, but due to the rockfall hazard zone, they have now shifted this road further to the, let's say, east, and that has put the road in the rockfall but taken all the lots out. And so by doing that, they pushed all the lots to that side out of the rockfall hazard area. It also did allow them to gain 2 lots within their subdivision.
And improve the drainage issues and satisfied all those.
Right.
Very good. Any comments or questions, council? Ready for a motion.
Motion to approve the amended preliminary plat for, I never can say that word, for a 57-lot residential subdivision called Desert Valley Amended.
We have a motion by Michelle with a second by Betty. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, item 5B is a request to approve a preliminary plat for a 63-lot residential subdivision called Desert Cove. Site is located east of Desert Rim Phase 2 and south of Desert Valley. Property is 29.02 acres. Number of lots is 63. Density is 2.17. Dwelling units in acres. Zone is R110. General plan shows this is low-density residential. Applicant is Development Solutions. Representatives is Kurt Gordon, and Ken Miller. So the last one we looked at was right here, Desert Valley. This is just to the south of it. The developer is requesting lot size averaging. There are 43 lots greater than 10,000 and 20 that will be less than 10,000 is their proposal, with the smallest lot being 7,999 square feet. The hatched area right here is hillside, and they've designated this as a no build, no disturb area to be left open. Like I talked about earlier, the rockfall hazard line again has been moved, or not the road has been moved so that the rockfall hazard line follows the road, basically putting all these lots outside of the rockfall hazard area. Let's see. Oh, so there were a couple conditions that staff recommended. That prior to the final plat recording, staff recommended that the dedication of the 10-acre community park for the Desert Canyons area be completed prior to the final plat, that the designation of the neighborhood park for this area of Desert Canyons that's currently being developed or has been developed be agreed upon between the city and the developer, and then prior to the final plat recording, that the Mesa Top and Hillside area, which is over in this area right here, also be dedicated as open space. And then obviously 15% of that, they will need to provide 50% open space with their preliminary plat.
Wes, do you know where the school's going to go out there?
I do not know where. I know where the church is going.
Yep.
Going, but I don't know where
Should be pretty close.
I don't know if the applicant is aware of any plans. Yes, Kurt?
Kurt Gordon with Desert Canyons Development. We are in discussions with the school district about placing a 12-acre, 10-12-acre school site kind of on the opposite side of the knoll. It would probably be about half a mile or so away in the part of the development called just below Desert Heights. So we are in discussions with them about planning a school site. And Mr. Mayor, may I speak just for a moment about some of the conditions?
Sure.
Just so you're aware, we've been working with the city on some of the conditions, with staff on some of the conditions. We don't feel we're in total agreement. I think in general principle we're in agreement, but as always, the devil's in the details, and we have not finalized working through all the details. So I just wanted you to know, but like always, we always kind of work through them, but we haven't reached final agreement on the conditions yet, but we are working with staff to get through.
We still have an opportunity to do that before we get to final plats, so hopefully we can. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's where the word preliminary comes in.
That's right. Exactly. Thank you, Kurt. That's helpful, and it's always good to know that there's the planning involved, preparing for, school sites and so forth. Any other questions or discussion on this, council? If not,
I'll go ahead and make a motion, Mayor, to approve the preliminary plat for Desert Cove with the conditions and comments.
Second.
motion by Jimmy with the second by Ed. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Oh,
Mayor, no, it was okay.
Okay.
I mean, I just wanted to make a comment. I know that Kurt indicated that, the discussions around those issues that were brought up at the planning staff. There is a development agreement that covers this entire project area, and it deals with the community park, and it deals with neighborhood parks and the open space, and we have, before there was any building out there, we agreed on the principles of that, and so, we need to get it finalized at some point before all the property is developed, and I think that's our concern, is that we can actually the time has passed when it should have happened. And we have been discussing with them, and we've been working with them on shifting properties and making it work. But at some point, we have to come to the grips, and we have to designate and agree on those 10 acres, which we thought we had an agreement, but there's been development changes. We understand that. But we do need to, at some point, bring it to a conclusion. And that's the reason I think the staff felt like that let's get serious on deciding exactly where it's at. And we've had good relationships out there in the past. We're not suggesting that we can't come to terms, but if we just leave it nebulous, we never know when and where that's going to be. We'd like to tie it down as much as we possibly can, and so we'll work with them prior to the final plat, and if we can't get it agreed on with all the parties before the final plat, then you'll have to make the decision if you want to extend that or approve the final plat without those stipulations that the Planning Commission and the staff has requested.
Thank you for that update. I think that's important.
And Gary, I guess that as things progress, the engineering reports on soil erosion out there, all of them, that's all part of this package to ensure that those that are buying homes out there, that those...
Well, I believe that they're required to submit the appropriate documentation before the subdivision's approved, and there is some wiggle room with regard to what's submitted and what isn't submitted with regard to those reports. And I think it is incumbent on the developer and before the subdivision is finally platted to make sure that that's done. There might be a difference between one soil engineer and another soil engineer on what's really approved and not approved. And then we have to try to ferret that out with our engineers as well. And so there'll always be some disagreements. We hope that's the case, because if there isn't an agreement, it does default to a 2-to-1 standard, which is normally the case. But sometimes, depending on the soil conditions, it doesn't have to be 2-to-1. So we look at that as part of the subdivision. So, and that's the same way it is all over the city.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. Okay. 5C.
5C. Okay, item 5C is a request to approve a preliminary plat for a 9-lot residential subdivision called Meadow Valley Farms Phase 10. Site is located at 2150 East, 3790 South. Property is 7.14 acres. Density is 1.26 dwelling units an acre. Zone is RE20. General plan shows this is low density, very low density. Applicant is Development Solutions Group. So this is right here. So let me orient you. Here is Commerce Drive right here, the future extension of it. This is the future fire station there. And then this is that road that John talked about earlier with the zone change. This is its terminus into Commerce Drive right there. They are leaving this lot out right here for future development, as they have a well on there right now that provides water for construction purposes. So they're leaving that lot out, but they will be doing these lots right here. This lot right now is currently located within the floodplain and will need to be raised at least 2 feet above the base flood elevation if they want to develop it. And they also are within the erosion hazard boundary and will need to provide a study indicating any mitigation that needs to be done along the Fort Pierce to develop these lots.
Very good.
Just help me to clarify in my mind, and perhaps some of the people at home listening to this as well. We keep mentioning like lot 125 is on a floodplain. Can you kind of clarify the difference between a floodplain and a floodway? Because I see them exchange here as we discuss some of these developments. So,
okay, the floodway just conveys the normal rain event, storm event. The floodplain is when the 100-year event comes. So you can develop within the floodplain just as long as you raise above the base flood elevation. So yeah, as long as you raise it above and go to certain measures, you can develop within the floodplain. You cannot fill within the floodway.
So when we get to the floodway, we know we're going to, 100 years, we're going to get a lot of water.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
So
I just want to make sure people understand. I keep forgetting and could get them mixed up. So I know the audience, when people at home want to clearly understand that, because we got so much of that in the city.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on this one?
Move to approve a preliminary plat for a 9-lot residential subdivision called Meadow Valley Farms Phase 10.
Second.
Motion by Betty, second by Ed this time. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. That's it for Planning Commission, I believe. Is that right? Thank you.
Okay, item B is consider an appeal of a denial of a 50-foot sign at 1143 South Main Street. This is the Dairy Queen location under the ordinance, and I'll let John explain the technicalities of that, but it is located within the freeway area where you can have a higher sign. However, it's not on a designated major commercial street. So, John, with that, you can maybe give some more information.
So this is the location. This is the new Dairy Queen location. It's located on Main Street. Main Street, along Main Street, you're allowed one sign per frontage, and you're limited to a maximum height of 10 feet in height. They are located within the 1,500-foot bubble along the exit, which, if you are along a major commercial street, would allow for a taller sign up to 50 feet. Main Street is not a major commercial. Bluff Street is a major commercial street. So along Main Street, they are limited in height. Staff did review. They did submit a proposal or an application to staff, and staff reviewed it, and it did not meet the 10 feet height, and so staff denied their application. The sign code does allow for minor variances to be reviewed by the sign review board. However, major variances would be reviewed by the city council. When staff reviewed this, we didn't believe that this was a minor variance. Therefore, it's before the city council for consideration. And I believe the applicant is here to answer any questions.
Well, let me just add on that for the major variance. The reason we decided it is a major variance is because we actually have a code that identifies those roads, and it's adopted by the city council. And so we felt that it was appropriate for it to come to city council because at this point you have not designated it as a major road.
Makes sense, and we've done so in some other areas. You remember River Road, we've had some discussion on, and sections of it. And you can do sections of a road, is that correct?
Yes, you can.
As I recall. But, okay. So, first of all, questions, council, while John's at the podium?
I have another one just for you, John, because some of these signage is grandfathered in when the ordinance was changed as to height. Is there a major highway, major roadway where signage can be placed? And we have, in this particular area, you have right in a close proximity, you have Denny's Restaurant, you have Burger King, and they have big signs. And there's a distinction made about how many feet that might be included in distance that would have to be within a certain distance to be able to fit in that particular spot. So it's what, 1,500 feet and on a major highway.
Yeah, so there's two criteria you have to meet. One is be within, and I should say that if you're on a major commercial street, you can have a 30-foot sign. If you're within the 13-foot bubble of the exit, then you can go from a 30-foot to a 50-foot. And so there's also some more additional allowances as far as your sign display. In regards to the other signs, Burger King, and I believe Denny's has a taller sign. Also across the street, Abbey Inn has a taller sign. Those are legal non-conforming signs. They were erected prior to the ordinance and changed, so currently they're non-conforming.
Okay, very good. And explain what non-conforming means if there's a change in use or ownership, things like that.
Yeah, so non-conforming is a sign that was done prior to ordinance changing. If the applicant chooses to modify that sign, they'd have to bring it into compliance, which means they'd have to reduce the height of the sign. They are able to change the face of it, but they're not able to expand the non-conforming use without bringing it into compliance.
Thank you. Gary?
I think that this issue goes beyond the request for a variance tonight or for approval to put the sign up. It goes to me to planning. It goes to, you have Bluff Street, major commercial on one side, and we have Main Street. And to me, it's a planning issue. It's a design issue. It's a future what do you want to envision as a mayor and city council and a city on your main street? Now, yeah, you could approve this because it's on the south end, but more importantly to me and the staff is what is the feelings of the council with regard to Main Street all the way to 7th South? And that then becomes our entrance to the city. You have Bluff Street, but that's all commercial. But this has a school, it has residential, it has lower intense uses. And so then are we wanting to see our entrance through Main Street to our downtown area have 50-foot signs from this location all the way to 7th? And I'm not sure how you can say that if you cut it up into sections, maybe you could say, well, this section was okay, but where do you go beyond that to the commercial center when it changes uses? When the vacant property along the RV park that's there right now, if it goes into commercial, are we okay with 50-foot signs there? So that's our concern, is you've got a big vacant piece of property where we had the requested RV storage area there. What do we want our Main Street to look like when it hits into 7th South and from this freeway? And it has nothing to do with the Dairy Queen. They've done an amazing job with their new building, and we're happy they're there. It's a great business, and we certainly support them. But to me, it's an issue of how many signs and what is the designation for Main Street in the long-term planning of the city. I think that's the one part of the question that needs to be answered tonight.
I think that's a good point, Gary, and I think, we don't know how some of that's going to develop, but, and again, future councils might see it differently than we do. In fact, it very well may be that none of us are here when those things happen, but I would like to see that area develop as something a little different, frankly, than Bluff Street. And I don't know that, this is just me, but that my personal vision would include 50-foot signs. I would think we could do something less than that and still have it be very much visible and known what's there, but that's just me.
Well, in regards to that planning that Gary alluded to and so forth, the guidance we receive from past councils is we can designate this street, or we can be looking at each time someone comes up and try to have a decision on a case-by-case basis. But I think the overall planning that he's directing us to is that we're forming what's we want to be considered as a desirable future development of the signage on that Main Street's a big, major street. So we don't want to. I don't know that you'd want to do it piece by piece. I think that you need to lock in a little bit more and conform to the planning that has been put in place by prior councils.
Gary, let me ask a question. Just remind us, or John, what's the maximum allowed, did you say, currently with how
10
it's
feet.
10 feet?
It's 10 feet unless you have an 18-foot building, then you can go up to 15 feet. But I don't believe that building would qualify. I believe it's 10 feet, but I'm not 100% sure.
And they're kind of monument type.
Monument or pedestal?
Pedestal sign.
But 10 feet.
10 feet max.
So within our purview, I mean, is there an ability to do anything between the two without, putting things at risk, in terms of 15 feet, 18 feet, or does that?
I don't know that. I think you could probably approve anything you wanted to approve.
I think so.
But I think you'd have to address the issue of whether it's a major street or not, or else change your ordinance to allow you the discretion to do that. I don't know that. I don't speak for the
Paula?
attorney, but
Well, the way the code is set up right now, this is an appeal, and so you do have the right to make that decision on what height and what type of sign you want there. Typically, like you mentioned, if it were a minor variance, it would go to the sign review council, and they frequently allow additional height or an additional size or something because of what's around them and that sort of thing. So you do have the authority to do that. The problem and question you come into is what Gary was saying about
Precedent.
the plan
Yeah.
and what do you want for that whole street. And if you allow this one, so then when the lot right next to it comes in, are you saying, well, we did it for this one, so should we do it for this one? And what standard are you using in deciding where that line is, and how high do you go on each one of them? So that's the problem you run into when you grant the variance and don't actually change the code.
Thank you. It's good. I think that's helpful for our, let's discuss anything
Well,
you want to.
this one's a little unique because we're taking an existing business off of Bluff Street that, for obvious reasons, had to move with what's going on with all that soil. And we're right close to where there are other signs. So I tend to think that while I understand we may not want to see this go all the way up Main Street or even all the way to 700 like this, for this particular business in this location, I would think we ought to be able to do something here because this is a different situation, not necessarily a brand new business. This is a relocation of a business that has good chicken strip baskets. I think we got to look at that in a little different method. So that's my point. Not setting a precedent because we're looking at someone who has had to move. So I'd like to see them be able. Obviously, they're trying to attract business from the freeway. It's about, and we're right across the street. What does Burger King have right there? They have a tall sign. And Denny's.
They have a taller sign. I'm not sure exactly the height, but it's fairly tall.
Yeah, we got to give them something more than 10 feet to be able to be seen, even for people who turn the corner and are trying to hit McDonald's right there, to be able to see, hey, there's Dairy Queen.
So the signs that the Dairy Queen has now, which are very attractive and nice signs, they just look great. Would this be in addition to those, or would they remove those signs?
Paul, I believe
They would have to remove it. They only get one.
Well, I'm just wondering, what's the height of the sign on Dixie Drive? Wouldn't that be 10 feet or less? Because there is a Dairy Queen on Dixie Drive. And so, I guess it depends on where you're trying to see it from. If you're trying to see it from the freeway or from Bluff Street, that's one thing. And if you're, if you're trying to see it from Main Street, that's quite another. 50-foot sign probably won't be seen really well on Main Street. But if you're trying to attract people from the freeway, then maybe it would. But again, back to your point, which is a good one, Jimmy, but I'm not sure you could have seen the former sign from the freeway.
No.
So it's a tough one for me.
No, but when you come off that exit on the Bluff, you can see Dairy Queen now. You got to know what's over there, or you're not going there. So that's all that's my point.
Yeah.
Mayor, a few years ago on Bluff Street, we had the hotel just up from Abbey Inn, the hotel. We had the trees removed that were there. And part of that issue was the signage because they could not see the advertisements for that particular site. And so while we were reluctant and not wanting to lose those trees, but years have gone by and you can see the difference as far as the advertisement and the benefit that business derives from being able to be seen. And I think that's what Jimmy said. You have, they're in competition with a lot of those businesses, and they're right next to each other. And that's what makes this such a difficult decision.
What about those, when you're driving down the freeway and then they have those freeway signs and it says this restaurant, this restaurant, this restaurant, and I want to exit because I want to go to that restaurant. What's the process of that? I don't know.
It's through UDOT, I believe.
I think
they sell those spots.
spots.
Yeah, they sell those spots. And
That is probably more effective than a sign on the freeway. I mean, for me it is too.
I know. I'm going to exit because that's where we want to go.
You look for them and you look to see what's there.
Mayor, just one other editorial comment from a planning standpoint, and I hate to keep monopolizing the conversation, but I know a number of years ago, I can't remember how many of you may have remembered this, but St. George was chastised for looking like Las Vegas on our St. George Boulevard. This was prior to the landscaping, and there was huge signs, a lot of gasoline signs. When you looked at it from going west down St. George Boulevard, all you saw were the signs. And so over the years, as businesses have changed, as attitudes have changed, I think there's only one or maybe two signs left there that have those huge signs. Most of the rest of them have brought them down to the size of their buildings. And I think with the landscaping there, you don't feel like you're going into necessarily a major commercial area. I think that's from a staff standpoint. That's what we're just concerned about. We certainly are pro-business. We're certainly wanting them to succeed, but I don't know how far you want to go with regard to Main Street, and that's the issue. And it's the same, down the road 20 years from now, is this going to be the right decision if we allow, 10 signs between this location and 700 South? Because I don't know how unless you can figure out a way to say that major collector street only goes to a certain point on that, and then when the guy next to you wants to extend that major commercial road to his property, that's where kind of the challenge is. Now, the zoning is commercial, and I understand that it's already going to be commercial, but it's not a high, commercial use as much as it is more neighborhood, more like the RV and the offices and some of that. It's in transition, but who knows what's going to be there. And I think that's our concern is you've got a lot of vacant property along Main Street that's zoned commercial right now.
And it's an entrance to the city,
Right.
as you said.
Okay, so, sorry, but I just pulled up a picture, and it looks like right on that location, there used to be a large, taller sign at one time.
Off-premise sign.
A what?
For Stephen Wade
Off-premise
Auto.
sign.
Oh, is it still there?
No. It was
Okay.
required to be taken down as part of the approval process because once Stephen Wade vacated his use over there, that sign then was non-conforming on that site.
That's why I asked that.
It actually lost its non-conforming status, so they had to remove it because the use had been discontinued for over a year. And so they were no longer allowed to have that sign.
Okay, so all I'm saying, and I'll shut up, right across the street is the Best Western sign, and I'm just saying if we, rather than tackle the whole thing and say we're going to come up with designating Main Street as a major commercial, that because of its proximity to these other signs, I mean, it's just, to me, fits right in with what they're doing there. And you see all those other signs. I'm looking at them. There's like 10 of them. You're not going to notice another sign. That way we're not setting a precedence. We're saying, here we go, an existing business that relocated. They're going to fit in with what's right there already. Then we can tackle going forward what goes on the rest of the way up 700. I mean,
How tall are those signs?
It's just, what if Pier 49 decides to do the same thing
And
and go right next door?
Let me tell you my experience. I think that's kind of a hub of restaurants right in there, that little curve. A lot of people go there to eat. And I came down with my grandchildren and was heading to another restaurant, saw the new DQ, and, wanted a Blizzard. No, I'm just kidding. I could do an advertisement. But anyway, went in there, and that's where we chose to eat. I think that you don't even need so much the sign as that you get in the area and it's a new restaurant. It looks great. I don't know. I think we need to keep the integrity of our plan.
I think that Betty's pretty much right on it. The monument signs they have now is really attractive, I think, and it functions, it works well, and I think it, in keeping with the planning that's been presented not only by us today, but prior councils. I as much as I hate to deny these people a 50-foot sign there with what's around them, but I think that we need to draw the line and adhere to it.
Okay. Any other comments?
I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we,
Actually, this isn't a public hearing, so
I'm going to try. I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we reverse the decision to deny the 50-foot sign and go ahead and allow in this specific location the applicant to have a 50-foot sign.
okay, we have a motion by Jimmy. Do we have a second? Second, anyone? If not, the motion dies due to lack of a second. Okay, let me ask the council, would you like to hear from the applicant? It's not a public hearing, but if you'd like to, I'd give you a couple minutes to explain.
I would, and like I said, how tall are the other signs right there? Do we know?
There's some of them that got to be 50 feet.
I believe they range from 30 to 50 feet. They're fairly tall signs.
I don't pay attention, so, I mean,
I don't either.
Council, would it be okay? Would you like to hear from a representative of the applicant? Come forward. Let's just try to be brief, but.
I'll be real brief.
Okay.
My name is Mike England. I represent Rainbow Sign, and the Websters are here that own the Dairy Queen. And so we are just here to see if we can get a reversal on the denial, obviously. And so we talk about, Main Street, you don't want to have these tall signs all the way up, but if you incorporate that 1,500-foot bubble, it's going to stop only just a few hundred feet up Main Street anyway. And so that's one of the things that we are, putting the motion, because the Dairy Queen does fit easily within that 1,500-foot bubble off of the freeway exit. And then to answer your question, there are about 15 signs within all the vicinities right there that are 50 feet. And even the one directly across the street, which is the new Quality Inn, and it is a 50-foot pole.
and so they're willing to take down the monument sign to put this sign up? I mean,
That's something new that I haven't heard about when Paula mentioned it, so.
yeah, because
we
monument
should be
signs are
able to-
pricey, aren't they?
What's that?
Aren't monument signs pretty pricey?
Probably not as much as the pole sign, but.
No, but,
Yeah, it's a fairly expensive venture that.
It is.
That the Websters are, trying to keep their business moving and be seen there. Obviously, like Betty, she was going over there to go to McDonald's and, a Dairy Queen. Well, why not come off the freeway? Let's go to Dairy Queen. And then maybe, there's a Burger King, the opposite. So it's kind of an unfair situation. And then we view it a little bit as though that off-premise sign, when they leased the property, that sign was there with the assumption that that was a sign they would be able to use because it was already on the property. So after the leases were signed and this, it was denied and it was a requirement for them to take that down. So I can't speak for them, but I would assume that's a bit of a sore spot.
Well, that sign has been there was not there for the Dairy Queen, and was not there for any other business other than Stephen Wade Auto, and it's a non-conforming use, so you can be upset or whatever else, but it was never intended to be a sign to allow an existing business, whatever business it was, to locate on that particular parcel with that 50-foot sign, because that was an off-premise sign, which was wholly different discussion than what we're having tonight on an on-premise sign. Now, I guess if the council wanted to try to decide whether it's a major commercial or not major commercial, and you want to keep within that 1,500-foot bubble, then you probably would have to see whether or not that excludes property to the north of this particular parcel.
How far up?
Because the one parcel is all owned by the MacArthur family at this stage of the game, and so if that's within that bubble, then you couldn't effectively deny them the right to put their 50-foot sign up. I guess you could base it on its own merits of what the sign was, but I think you're going to have a little bit of a space of property right next to this parcel. That's certainly an alternative to say we don't want to make the designation of the main street as major commercial, but we recognize that the bubble within the freeway was put there for a purpose, for signs that we could have some visibility from the freeway. So that would be the nexus, if you were inclined to make a decision, would be to tie it to that bubble. And I don't know how you would shrink that bubble down just to do this particular piece of property, because it is under state law, they're allowed to put that sign up to that height within that 1,500 foot of that interchange. So,
Are you saying that if somebody else comes within that 1,500-foot bubble, we have to approve it?
I say if you approve, this is,
It'd be hard
again,
not to.
practicing not my attorney, but it'd be hard not to say that they have that same right. And we're guessing, and I've talked, we don't know exactly without measuring it where that 1,500-foot line would be. But I'm guessing it would go to the MacArthur property, which has 1,000 feet of frontage along there that's just being farmed right now. So I'm not sure on the other side of the street it would make any difference because you're already built, is what I would think, within
Right.
that 1,500. So you're probably talking about the MacArthur property, the current owner, just north of the boundary of this particular parcel. As far as having
That section of Main Street is commercial zoning all the way from Bluff to 7th East, minus that daycare center on the corner of 7th East and Main. It is like 95% commercial zoning already, and it's 4 lanes.
Well, I think though the commercial zoning that it is does not allow 50-foot signs. Because it's not a major commercial, it's not within the bubble. So our point is, we have recognized it's going to be commercial, but the types of use of those commercial doesn't necessarily have to have a 50-foot high sign on. If MacArthur's developed their property into individual parcels all the way along there, then you've got the possibility of having numerous 50-foot signs like you've addressed out on River Road.
Well, is there a reason why that's not designated major commercial, where the city ordinance does state any road that has 70% commercial on it
qualifies? It doesn't say
or shall
has
be,
to be. It says it shall be considered, with the consideration of the council. There's other places in the city that we have not designated, even though it's commercial. I think even on River Road, there's some of that's not designated as major commercial, because we're trying to address the planning concept, not necessarily the business or what prohibiting business is going. We're trying to say what's a nice entrance into that part of our city, which is considered our downtown, when you already have major commercial on the other side of Bluff Street. From a planning standpoint only, what's our entrance going to look like? If you think that the intense C3 high-end high-intensity commercial is what you want from this location to 7th South, then that's what you need to look at. Now, they can come in and do a zone change, but they can't come in and put signs up right now unless you designate that road as major commercial. That's how I understand it.
That's correct. And just in addition to those comments, anytime you give a variance, then it does have an impact on the other people who may come in and want that same thing, and you're going to have to distinguish what is different from this one to the others. That they're relocating isn't really a great distinction, because you don't want to be treating businesses differently that come in. The distance is a good thing to look at on where you want to make that cutoff. I will tell you that in addition to this business, we have had several that are on that side road there just down from the Dairy Queen who have wanted to go with a 50-foot sign as well. And they've been denied because, again, they're not on a major commercial, but they are within that 1,500-foot bubble. And so that's why they came in and tried to get it as well. They didn't appeal it, so you didn't hear those cases.
Where are we talking?
The car place down the road there, they do repairs, and I don't know what they call themselves.
That's not on Main Street, right?
No, it's not on Main Street. It's down that side road.
Where Fiesta Fun is.
Yeah, towards Fiesta.
The former Stephen Wade.
Yes, it is the former Stephen Wade area there. And in fact, they wanted to use the sign that was taken down at Dairy Queen. They'd also asked for that as an off-premise sign to be able to use it, because it used to be used as part of Stephen Wade's, and so they wanted that. So I'm just telling you, there are people who may come in and want that, and that will have to be weighed in. I think you could distinguish that Main Street is different from those side ones, and so that would be a clear line of delineation for future people who came in. But the ones right next door, that one would be a tough one to say no to on a legal basis, to be able to argue to a court of why that's different than what's coming in here now with Dairy Queen. As far as the monument sign, you'll have to check with John on that, because there are distance requirements and location requirements, and I don't know what the site plan is, so you may not have to remove the monument sign, but you may. And I don't have those details to really answer for sure on that one.
John's signaling me he's not sure either. He'd have to do some checking. Okay.
And I'm not and I'm in total agreement on all of that about going all the way up Main Street, and we don't want these signs all over town. But we have literally this sign, what I'm guessing would be within less than 100 feet of 2 other signs that are over 50 feet. And to me, that we're just kind of being a little, I know what we're trying to accomplish, but at this, I think we could safely say that this won't even be, I mean, it'll be noticed as far as their business, but it wouldn't be noticed by the average person that we added another 50-foot sign, and it's going to go, and they're going to be crazy about it. That's my point. And I really would hope that if that were approved, they wouldn't have to remove the monument sign either. I mean, they're good-looking signs.
And
I
the
mean,
design, it is a beautiful design if you notice
Right.
the renderings. It's
Yeah.
just a nice logo with a nice skin. It's not a pole, not a big rusty steel pole. It's a nice encased black pole and then nice rock work at the base. So it is a beautiful sign besides. So
Where do we stand on Jimmy's motion there?
It failed. It died. But there can be another motion made.
I'll go ahead and try again,
Well,
if you want me to,
I,
or somebody else can.
Mayor, I think that in keeping with the planning that has taken place and the goals that the city has had to maintain the aesthetic values and so forth, I'd make a motion that we deny the applicant's request for a 50-foot sign.
Okay, we have a motion by Ed to deny the appeal. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second by Betty. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay, I will cast the tie-breaking vote, which is a rare opportunity or responsibility in this case. I will vote aye. So, tough decision, but I would rule then that the motion passes.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item is the city manager apologized he needed to leave, so we will go to item 6C, which is considering the approval of a development agreement with Sun Country Home Solutions to demolish and build a new home on city property located at 32 West and 300 South. I'm not sure if there's anyone here to speak to this, but council, if you recall, we had talked with Sun Country about them purchasing this property, and the city manager explained to me earlier, in case he had to leave before we got to this, that essentially what they're doing is they're agreeing to demolish the home, build something else on it, on the property that would be for affordable housing, and they're pledging to essentially put the amount that they paid for the property into the next property, if you will. They want to be around and help us with affordable housing issues. So that's essentially, as I understand it, what is going on here. Paula, do you have any other details?
I don't, other than to say that I don't know if any of the attorneys have seen this agreement, so it would need to be subject to legal approval if it's being...
Just to be safe, we ought to do that. Any other discussion? I know you don't have much, but it's this has been several months in the works. So I think it has been through legal, but just to be safe, if we are inclined to improve the agreement, let's make it subject to legal.
The affordable housing issue is has to be attacked multiple ways, and this is just another one of them. If this group obviously can come and do this and help us out with that issue, it is an issue in our county and our city and everything else. So I'm okay to make a motion if you're
be great
somebody, to go ahead and approve the development agreement between Sun Country Homes and the city for the property located at 32 West, 300 South, subject to legal review.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy with a second by Betty. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next item is another, it's a lease agreement with Washington County Drug Task Force for the use of office space in a city-owned building. I don't know which building that is. Does it say on the item there?
Is it next door? Across the street?
Yeah, it's across the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's down. Yep, it's next door. So you can see again, and we participate with that. I guess it's amounting to $41,000 per year to be paid by the Washington County Drug Task Force to the city of St. George.
I'd like to move that we approve this agreement with the Washington County Drug Task Force for the calendar year ending December 2017.
Second.
Motion by Betty with the second by Ed. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Okay, the next one, 6E, is consider approval of an agreement with Shawano Townhome Association regarding the transfer of a private sewer system. Scott, can you speak to this? Thanks for being here. Since you're here, we ought to have you speak to it.
So each year we budget money for PUDs and homeowners associations that would like to transfer their private sewer system to the city. And in order to do that, we'll go in ahead of time and inspect the collection system. If there's any deficiencies, then it's up to the homeowners association or the PUD to remedy those problems, bring the system up to current standards and up to city standards and plumbing codes before we accept them. And we offer to pay half the cost of getting it up to the current standards. Typically, our participation is the labor to install and to fix the problems that we find. So in this particular case, we went in and we evaluated the system. We found a little bit over $6,300 worth of improvements that need to be done. They've agreed to pay half the cost of that, and then we'll go in and actually make the improvements. And once it's accepted, we'll take the system over and it'll be treated just as part of our city collection system.
So then instead of the HOA paying for that sewer maintenance, then each unit will pay just like a regular unit in the city into the wastewater fund?
Yeah, and they currently do that now.
Oh.
But the system within their own development is theirs to maintain. We'll take.
So all we're really picking up, we're
taking that over.
So we just pick up the maintenance. We're already getting the money.
Yep.
Oh, sweet deal for them, huh?
It is. This is something that the city worked out, some years ago with
Jerry
Campbell.
Thank you. And I think it's a good way to solve some of the problems that have come out of these situations.
It is, and on average, there's probably about two PUDs a year that approach us and ask us to take over their system. So it's worked out really nice.
Awesome.
Well, it was an equitable solution.
Good solution.
And so I would make a motion, Mayor, that we approve the agreement with the Shawano Townhomes Association regarding the transfer of private sewer system.
Second.
Motion by Ed with the second by Michelle. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Very good. Letter F, consider approval of a lease agreement with the Dixie, Arizona Strip Interpretive Association. Betty knows about this. For the use of the city-owned building at 97 East St. George Boulevard, which is the Pioneer Courthouse. And again, this is something we've spoken about, and actually, I believe they have occupied the building. This is, I believe, good for us because we need someone in there to, represent us, if you will, and host the opportunity for people, especially visitors, but residents as well, to come and see that building. And I'd like, and I know Betty would like to see us even approve upon what is, the conditions of it, especially on the inside. And so we'll talk more about that later. But for right now, we just need to formalize, if you're so inclined, by approving this lease agreement.
Very similar to what we did with the chamber.
Yep.
Basically.
Yep.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the lease agreement with Deja for the property at 97 East St. George Boulevard.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy with the second by Michelle. Any discussion on the motion?
Mayor, what is the cost? Is it like chamber $1 a year?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what it says. Yep, it's for 10 years and it's $1 per year.
Yeah, just so the public will know.
Yep. Yep. And again, we will probably even make some contributions to them to help them, as we have done the chamber in the past, to help with that building. Because otherwise, we would really need to pay someone to be there and staff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Did you get a second?
I did.
Yes, Michelle.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, I said that. So any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. That's good. Good to have that official, isn't it, Betty?
They're
Okay.
very, very excited.
They are. I need to go down and check in on them. Okay. Next one, G. Consider approval of a special event permit for the 4th of July Carnival to be held at Town Square. And we have Shane and Aaron in the back. Would you like to speak to this? Either one of you? Yeah. Okay, Aaron, I knew Aaron was taking the lead on this. This is something a little different, a little new. We'd like to have you consider, Council. How'd I get all this stuff?
We've been busy.
We did a lot, didn't we? Oh, sure.
I see that beard and hair growing nicely, Aaron, in anticipation of a marathon in October, right?
My training beard right here.
Yep, yeah.
Oh, I didn't recognize him until he started to talk.
Yeah. Got a lot of hair going on right now.
Yeah.
That's looking good, man.
Thank you. But we're looking for approval on the 4th of July Carnival. I attached a map with you guys. This is a look at the new layout. We're looking to move the event for the first time to Town Square. And we're looking to add an attraction for the community that is family friendly and fun. And the carnival has came and approached us, Midway Carnival Attractions. They come out of San Diego, and they operate carnivals in various cities around the surrounding area. Attached, I put some references because carnivals do get a reputation sometimes, and we wanted to show this carnival is a success. And they're really family friendly. Have done a good job in other communities that are similar to our community. And so we've attached some references that we've went and done research on and made sure that this carnival is going to be something we want in our community. Our 4th of July is always all about the citizens. We have around 40,000 attendees when you include the parade, the free games, the activities, the 4K race we do, and the concert over at Dixie State University. The carnival also, in their background, they do background checks on their employees. They have references from the police department, too. They've given us other police departments that have said that it's been a really good experience for the community, and we really were interested in bringing them here for the 4th of July. The one thing, though, to operate a carnival coming from San Diego, they did want to operate in town for 4 days to make it worth the travel and the setup of coming all the way out to St. George. The hours they were looking at doing were Friday, 5 p.m. to 11, Saturday, 3 p.m. to 11, Sunday, 3 p.m. to 10 p.m., taking Monday off for the setup of the event, and then Tuesday on the 4th for the celebration, doing 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. In order to do this, they're going to offer the city no cost to host the carnival. They're going to give us 10% of all the total revenue throughout the 4 days of the carnival. We can use that to pay for police overtime or other parts of doing this extra part of the festival. Since we really want to operate this event for the citizens and we're not about making big revenue on it, we're here to give the police when they need, the parks department give back to them if we need to. We anticipate $12,000 of revenue off of the carnival that we can use to fund and help the park and help the police cover this event for the 4 days that we plan to do it. They provide a ticket that's all inclusive for families. It's like a wristband. So you can show up and you can ride all the rides for one price, or there's like an individual ticket price where you can buy a ticket for $1 and do individual rides that way also. So there's a lot of ways to operate for families to get included in the carnival.
If he doesn't do
We plan to stage. We talked to Parks Department. We worked with a lot of departments in the city and to figure out some of the details. We work with Paula and legal a little bit. We work with the Special Events Committee to cover all the details. We work with the Parks Division also to look at the staging and where the carnival people will stay. That's a big issue that we just came up. But we've decided the Sun Bowl is where the rodeo employees and everyone stays, and that's where we would stage the carnival people, would be at the Sun Bowl.
Like in the parking lot or in the actual arena? You know,
I
the
think
grass?
Park said in wherever they stage the rodeo.
Okay. Probably the parking lot then.
Yep. Yeah, so it'd be the same for this. They plan on 3 RVs, so they don't bring too many staff. They said similar to the rodeo. That's what they said.
Okay.
And so we met with the other departments. We went with Gary, the city manager, on it, and we've kind of worked through it, and we wanted to bring it to council to seek your guys' approval for it. We really want to take a look at it this first year. We're not locked into anything after this first year, and just see what if this carnival can provide what we want it to, which is a family fun experience for our Independence Day celebration. We did a survey on it with our citizens. We surveyed 600 local citizens, and 81% wanted to see a carnival as part of the 4th of July, which was interesting. And 84% said they would bring their family to the event and feel it would be a safe addition to the event. And so that's really our main details on it. We just we're seeking approval to really provide this experience for the citizens, and we're open to any questions on it.
So Aaron, Michelle was asking me, but Friday night, I think, let's see, that would be a First Friday. So would this be able to work in harmony with First Night or George Street Fest?
Yes, yeah. On the map, it'll be located in the bottom corner of the parking lot where Town Square is.
Yeah.
And so it would be away from George Street Fest.
So it'd be kind of...
In addition.
Yeah, in addition.
Yep.
So, interesting. So they take off Monday. That's for additional setup for us?
Yeah.
Setup time?
They allow us to set up all of our other activities and...
That we'll be doing on Tuesday only?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I understand. The only thing, and I guess what I would say is it'd probably be nice, in my opinion, to try, as you said, Aaron. I think you've done your homework. The only thing that might be a concern is a little different for us in terms of the evening, going a little late. We do have some residences real nearby. And so, you noticed it was till 11, was it?
Yeah, yep. 11.
On Friday?
Friday, Saturday.
Okay. And then on Tuesday?
10 and 10 on Sunday.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yep. So it's a little, I don't know, it feels like they've kind of done a pretty good job to try to consider that. And, as Aaron said, if we approve this, we wouldn't be locked into multi-year. You could try it and see. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Mayor, this, just to reaffirm, this is in keeping with all the events ordinances. There's no waivers being asked other than maybe the staging over there at Sun Bowl without cost to them. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct.
And this would be a supplement to the 4th of July fireworks that's going to take place at the university.
Correct. And that's the other thing. The reason, I don't know if you mentioned this and I missed it, the reason this really doesn't work at Vernon Worthen is we'll probably be under construction there at that point.
Oh, yep, correct. Yep.
Well,
So it's at Town Square.
Yes.
Yes. Square. And let me just add that we have a contract that's drafted that we'll enter into with the Carnival Company. They will be providing insurance, a fairly large amount of insurance to cover any kind of liability issues. The contract does say that they can have 25 employees that would be staying in those RVs, campers, if we agree to allow them to do that. And then also, just so you're aware, of course, thinking about it being next to residential areas at that hour of the night, Carnival rides have music, and they have lots of people hopefully having a good time and yelling and
screaming.
what they do on rides. So just
memories.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't think 11 o'clock is horribly late. They can put up with
In
the
the
noise
summer.
for a few
In the summer, yeah.
few nights, and I think it'll be a huge hit. I mean,
I kind of think so too.
And we will provide the police security for during the daytime. They will provide security at night to watch their own equipment because we don't want to be responsible for their equipment. Of course, the police will be around. They're aware of what's going on, and so they'll be keeping an eye out. So that will be covered as well. And we'll help with cleanup, but they're required to restore the site after it's over so that, we don't have a big expense from that.
It's great.
Jimmy, any thoughts? You look like you're deep in thought.
Yeah,
Or asleep.
I'd say we try it. It's a little scary, but I'm afraid that so you're saying Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Tuesday.
Yep.
You know, because 1 or 2 nights we can usually get away with. I'm a little afraid of what we might, just the residents that live around there, but it is that time of festive time of year, so.
And Shane suggests we give them free tickets.
There you go.
If they're on that street.
You know what? That's a
Hey,
great
that's
idea.
an awesome idea.
That's a great idea.
Great idea, Shane.
Just to soften the, I mean, some of them still might complain, but most people get it, and it's that time of year now I'm looking at this saying you're going to have a race. Is it a 5K?
It's going to be a 4K.
Because it's too hot in the summer to run a full 5K?
Correct.
I thought it was illegal to run in the summertime in St. George.
Oh, we start early.
Yeah. Is this an early run or is it a night run?
6:30 in the morning. So
Okay,
early.
yeah.
On the 4th, right?
On the 4th, yeah.
And then the parade will be after that. And then
Yep. All the rest of the activities as we've always done.
And you know, Mayor, with all the contention going on within the nation, I think this is an opportune time for us to celebrate the 4th of July and our nation and put a positive face on what we need to have. We need an uplift and take pride in our country.
Yeah, I agree, and I hope that people will see it that way. There may be some that, like Jimmy said, might say, well, 1 or 2 days is fine, but 4. But I think that the other thing is we're testing things a little bit here. We're testing Town Square. There is a lot to do there already. There's water there. That's the only problem with Vernon Worthen Park is, there's no splash pad there, and there's the carousel here. There's a few things that I think it gives a really diverse opportunity for people to have fun. And I think Michelle's right. I think actually it'll probably be a really big hit. We'll just be, we may not want to do this to Jimmy's comments all the time, but for Independence Day and that long weekend, I think it's a good thing to try.
I think if we were only doing it on the 4th, you would have so many people there, it'd be horrible.
Packed.
This way, you get them kind of spread out, so it's not horrible.
And we're trying a Sunday event here too,
Yeah.
which that's kind of different.
Yeah, and you're going to get some pushback on that, whether you like it or not. But
Yeah, and we will, and then we'll get some others that will say this is great.
right.
Yeah.
So
No question.
yeah.
And it will thin out the crowd because the people that want to can.
And it is my understanding that the construction will be taking place at Worthen Park at this
That's
time.
the plan.
So
Yeah,
that's,
they said June 1st.
Yeah, we're getting really close.
How could you really do a carnival atmosphere at Worthen Park?
No, that's the other thing.
Got to have some hard
You
surface
do.
somewhere.
You do, and
Yeah.
that's why I think the city manager, if he were here, I think that's what he would tell you is we've already proven with some of the other events that works really well. Even the Arts Festival, they put all the food vendors over there, and it just worked really well.
And I think the parking is better here too. There's no parking at Vernon Worthen, and it's so clustered down there. And this way, you got the parking garage not far away, and you've got the
Wells
bank,
Fargo.
And you have that whole block that is destined for demolition, that there aren't families that would be
True.
to the west of it. So.
To the west or to the north,
you know, Mayor, that these carnivals usually have dunk tanks that the mayor sits on, and
We'll get you on the list.
Yeah, I'll be
I
on the
just-
list. It sounds cool to me, literally.
Literally.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions for Aaron? I appreciate you doing your homework, Aaron. You've researched them well, and I think that's important because you don't want just any carnival company coming in. I think we want someone that's has a proven track record, and these folks up here too.
It's Americana, and it's part of the 4th of July celebration for me. I'm from Provo, and that's what they had forever and ever and ever. So I move that we approve it.
Second.
We have a motion by a patriotic and enthusiastic Betty, and a second by an equally patriotic and enthusiastic Michelle. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's a very patriotic, unanimous approval.
I just have to start saving my pennies because I know lots of grandchildren that are going to want to go.
Yeah.
Just buy a house right there close. Maybe they'll give you tickets.
Hey, can I rent a house for just the night? Yeah.
We got you.
Aaron,
Thanks, guys.
thank you. Thank you for your work.
Yeah.
Shane, thank you.
That's a great idea.
Good
by the way,
suggestion.
Shane.
If we
Yeah.
can follow up on that, I think that would save us some issues.
And I just want to say, Aaron, obviously one of our rising stars. And
Yeah.
we wanted to make sure he had the experience to come up here and express himself and let you know what he's doing. We're
Awesome.
Very well done. Thanks, Aaron.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
So Michelle, you got 4 days with your grandkids there, huh?
Not 4, no.
Grandma will go 1, I'll bet.
Grandma will go 1.
Yeah.
Wish I could grow a beard like that.
That's a pretty good beard.
Yeah, that's a great beard.
I'll bet you could grow a head of hair like that.
I could get some hair like that, but the beard ain't gonna happen. I just can't do it. I'll have to glue it on.
I have no appointments to boards. We will not be having a closed session tonight. Minutes, I would entertain a motion, if you're so inclined, to approve the minutes of all 4 meetings, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, February 23rd, March 16th, March 23rd, April 13th, and April 20th, 2017.
So moved.
Motion by Betty with a second by Michelle. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Any reports that we need to do at this time?
I just wanted to report that I attended the Warbird 40s dance.
The hanger dance?
Hanger dance.
Was it neat?
And it was. There were probably 200 people there. And the veterans were there, 90-year-old veterans, 99-year-old veterans. They were very old and all in their uniforms. And probably a third of the attendees were in costume. And they were really beautiful costumes. And they had performing dancers, the swing club, and great refreshments. And we had 4 members of our Arts Commission attended and sat at the same table. They had a table reserved for us. And the band, the jazz swing band that played, we support those also by Rap Tax money, and have given, and they were just absolutely fabulous. Just to listen to the music would have been worth anyone's attendance. But it was great. It was really, really fun.
I'm so glad you went. I was unable to go, and I will be going this Saturday when they do their Wings and Wheels, event. So they have a car show as well as the planes there, and some will be flying, but mostly you look at them, you get to sit in a cockpit of some of these.
They were taking pictures with all these people in costume, these couples in front of the old car in front of the airport or the airplane. It truly made you go back in time, and it was really fun. And there were young people, and of course, like I mentioned, the very, very revered and honored old. And it was really, they had a contest where the young women in costume came up and kissed the veterans, the old veterans. It was so cute. Some of them had 4 or 5 big lips all over their cheeks, and it was just a fun event.
That's great. I'm really glad you went. This thing Saturday starts at 10 a.m. and goes till, I don't know, like 4 for anyone that can go, but I'll be there to represent us in case you're otherwise occupied. Other reports, otherwise I do have one other thing I missed on the addendum that I'll go back to.
I just report to you that the Dinosaur Museum is doing very, very well. They had their best ever attendance, and the gift shop is on the upswing. They're getting ready to put a display in the new Smith's Food King. It's going to be opening up, as reported on, I believe, August 2nd.
Well, that's smart.
So it's a very positive approach, and they're doing some very good things.
Great. Let's see, we had a DTEC meeting the other day, didn't we? And all 3 of us were there for that. Essentially, things going well. They gave, mostly it was an update, a fairly short meeting, about 50 minutes long or less, 45 minutes.
Well, I think it would be good to tell the other members of the council that we did and are opposing and writing a letter in opposition of the makeup of the statewide committee for transportation. It is highly made up of Wasatch Front people, and the entire group, and all of the mayors felt that was
no one from the north,
inappropriate.
the far north, no one from the south. Yeah. In fact, no one south of Provo, I believe. So yes, Betty and Ken Sizemore are kind of taking
He's
the lead
actually
on that.
doing it. So
It's nice.
And Mayor, just to add, Betty probably knows this, that scoop that took place at the Children's Museum and the Dinosaur Museum, people were there. I understand it went quite well.
Very good. Anything else from any committees that anyone's attended in the last week or so?
I went to the Reach for Hope
Good, yeah.
meeting this morning.
That's the suicide prevention.
Yeah, and it's still, you know,
Don't feel like we're making progress, do we?
not a lot.
And it's not for lack of trying, but it's just frustrating, isn't it?
No, but they did have nothing but praise for the principal of Lava Ridge Intermediate, because a student there did commit suicide last week. And they had group therapy in the morning and individual therapy in the afternoon there at school, and they had sent out a text. Because it happened in the evening, they had sent out a text to the parents in the morning before school telling them to please check their email. Some of them obviously didn't. And Sergeant Gilman was there this morning too, because he's over all the resource officers, and said some of the parents were upset that their children had been told that this student had committed suicide. And I just said, by the second period, they would have known. Whether rumor or fact, I would rather have them hearing fact, and it is a fact of life. They also brought up the Netflix series that is controversial, and anyway, there's a lot being done, and we hope we can make some progress.
Thank you for sitting on that committee. I think that's really important.
Yes, I want to second that. Michelle, thank you. That's a really important function that you perform, and I know it's a difficult one too. So.
Yeah, it's not always easy, but but it's important. And I wanted to ask Jimmy, ROTC graduation at Pineview, how'd that go?
Went awesome, and it was not as long as you guys tried to portray it.
Oh, good.
Because I think they're a
They were
smaller
more,
group.
yeah, they were more.
Oh, that was awesome, though. Great kids, lots of awards. They had a pretty good crowd there. It was
at
awesome.
Pineview, wasn't it?
Yep, it was at Pineview. So good group of kids. They kind of run the program, and they made it go really well. So
They have great kids, great leadership there, adult leadership as well.
Thanks for going.
Yeah.
yeah, it was awesome. I enjoyed it.
Appreciate Betty and Michelle going to the Dixie JROTC the week before, and then Jimmy that one. So
You know, that program in that short time that it's been going has just exploded, and it's fun
only
to
like
see.
a year, isn't it? Year and a half.
What did he say? They told
2
us.
years?
The one at Pineview?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as the whole
thing here
program
has been
here,
quite a while.
And I don't know if, I'm sure it was at Pineview as well, but the scholarships that were given out, it was amazing. There was a $49,000 scholarship to one student, and one nominated to West Point.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's like $70,000.
Right.
No, it was like
400,
450,000.
450.
Because my jaw went.
I know. So we're significant. I mean, those are significant things, but the quality of the kids and what they do there is quite amazing.
You know, Mayor, I had one of the new members of the ROTC let me know that they're in need of new uniforms, and they're trying to solicit donations and funds to be able to re-gear and get some nice presentable uniforms, and I think that would be a laudable pursuit for someone that wants to donate in some area to support future members of our armed forces.
Yep, it's a very worthy cause. Hope they do get all that they need. They deserve it. Well, okay. I'm going to go back so I don't forget, and we'll finish up here. Item on the addendum 6J. We need to consider approval of an amendment to the commercial lease agreement with Dixie State University for the old airport hangar. and Paula, can you speak to this? I believe there were just a few, I think some minor changes to this. I don't think it's anything majorly significant, but that's all that Gary told me.
Well, it's a change in the insurance. The state had some issues with being required to have insurance and indemnifying the city, and so they required a change to one of the paragraphs that related to that. The end effect is that they are still responsible for it and will have all liability for anything that happens. It's just how it's done has changed a little bit. They call it a triple net lease, so it just changed the terms a little bit, but the end effect is still the same.
Thank you, Paula. Any questions on that? Again, we're just trying to make this continue to work for Dixie State and the state of Utah, of course. So,
Have you seen the skyline in that new building for that Dixie Applied Tech up there?
Yep.
I mean, it's really exciting to see what's taking place.
it is. They hope to be open, at least the first building, by the end of October. Any questions on this this request? If there's not, entertain a motion to approve. This is a No, this is not a resolution. So,
Motion to approve the lease amendment with Dixie State University for the old airport hangar lease.
Second.
motion by Jimmy with a second by Betty. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Ooh. Okay, so we got a motion by in stereo, but we'll give this one to Michelle, and a second by Betty, or yeah, we'll give it to Betty. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Everyone wants to go?
Yep.
Yeah.
Motion carries. Let's go.
Most of you are there, but Design to Print, sorry I didn't mention that earlier.
I meant to too.
They kind of officially gave them their award for Small Business Persons of the Year, and we got to see their new facility up there, and it's pretty dang impressive. And they showed us some of the projects they're working on. It was awesome to see all that. And
We could do a proclamation for them.
yeah, it'd be,
Yeah, we should do that. They I mean, this award they won took them to Washington D.C.
Yep.
You know, yeah, it's huge. And they described, their business. What 95% of what they do is outside of the area.
Yep.
Probably outside of the state, right?
Yep.
It's national. It's even international in some cases. It is started right here in St. George and still here, and they do have a little bit of a presence in Vegas, but they have chosen to stay here and keep the bulk of their operation here. And we ought to thank them when we get a chance, when we see them.